Hey everyone, back again with another video. This time I'm going to do a comparison between the Acer W3 on the left here and the Dell Venue 8 Pro on the right. These are both 8-inch Windows tablets. The Acer W3 I've upgraded to Windows 8.1. So it's now running the same version of the OS as the Dell Venue 8. Prices on these things: the Dell Venue Pro runs $299 for the 32 gigabyte, $399 for the 64 gigabyte. This version here, the Acer, is a 64 gigabyte version, which is currently running for around $399. I know there's a newer version of this with a better screen coming out, if it's not already out already. But that's not the one that I'm comparing here. The Dell here has 32 gigabytes. I'll talk a little bit about that. That's really not enough for a Windows 8 tablet. You're not going to really be able to put a lot of things on there, after you install Office especially. So here's some more specs. The Acer is a dual-core Intel Atom, 1.5 gigahertz. So this is the previous generation Atom being compared to the newer quad-core Intel Atom chip running at 1.8 gigahertz over here. So the Dell should be faster, not just on the gigahertz, but because it's a newer generation quad core as opposed to a dual core on the left with the Acer. So the Acer has an 8.1 inch TFT screen, 1280 by 800. If you see my Acer video, you'll note that I didn't really like the screen on this device, and compared to the Dell, which is an 8-inch IPS screen, also at 1280 by 800, there's really no comparison in the quality of the two screens. The Dell is definitely better. Both these devices have 2 gigs of RAM. The Acer has I think 34 milliampere 2-cell battery, and the Dell has a 4800 or 4830. So the Dell has a bigger battery, although it's a lighter device and a slightly thinner device. So in terms of those specifications, so the Dell is approximately 9 millimeters thick. So that's about as thick as the Lumia 920, which I happen to have one here. So they're, similar. The Dell might be a little bit thinner than the 920, so if you want to sort of get a reference of the thickness. So 9 millimeters as opposed to 10.16 millimeters for the Acer. So the Acer is a little bit thicker, 5.2 inches wide as opposed to 5.1 for the Dell. So again, the Dell is a little bit skinnier. In terms of the height, 8.6 with the Acer and 8.5 for the Dell. So overall, the Dell, again, a little bit smaller than the Acer. And the Acer weighs about 1.1 pounds, the Dell 0.87 pounds. So definitely you can feel the weight difference between these two. The Dell, a lot skinnier, a lot lighter. So in terms of the accessories that come with this, the Acer that I have comes with the Bluetooth keyboard. This Bluetooth keyboard, although I don't really use it, the Acer fits in, slots in just like that with this Bluetooth keyboard. The thing about this keyboard is you could use it just as well with the Dell. In fact, you know, if you're really looking for a keyboard for the Dell, this isn't a bad keyboard to pick up. I don't have the current prices on it, but it's certainly not a bad keyboard to pick up if that's something you're interested in. Some of the accessories that came with the Dell. I've got this folio here that the tablet just sort of slides into, and you know, you close it up, and it's a nice little folio. One of the other big differences between these two tablets is that the Dell has a stylus. So this is I believe this stylus is synaptic. So it does recognize when you hover. So you know, it will disable touch when you're hovering. It's not a Wacom digitizer, so there's no eraser at the other end. It does have the mouse buttons, but unlike the Wacoms, it has a battery. So this is battery powered. The sensitivity pressure sensitivity isn't as good as the Wacom. I find the inking, especially on the Dell, to be a little bit of a struggle. There's some issues with that. I'll make a separate video specifically on inking. I have a Wacom digitizer pen here, and you can see it has no effect. So if you wanted to know whether or not you could use it on the Dell, you can't. So those are the accessories. Why don't we get to comparing the performance of these devices? Okay, let's go ahead and compare speeds of some applications. Let's start off with Internet Explorer. So the Dell started up a little faster. The page seemed to load around the same, noting that the Dell goes to a special Dell MSN page. Not sure that makes a difference. So far the speed, not that big. Let's try going to the Verge and see. So the Acer, again, they seem to be fairly comparable in the speed in which they load. Let's start up this video on the Verge.
It's Friday, November 15th, 2013. I'm Adrienne Jeffries.
Get a little bit of a stutter on the Acer, but that could very well just be internet connection. They are both using wireless. Let's go over to something a little bit more challenging, maybe. Well, before that, let's try Word. Let's see how quickly we can launch Word on both of these devices. So right away, the Dell certainly opened up Word much faster. Let's create a document here. So both these tablets are downloading this document, this template. So the Dell has completed it. Let's see how quickly we can move an image around in Word. That's pretty good on the Dell. Yeah, we get quite a bit of lag on the Acer when we try to just do the circling around with the image. So we get stutter on the Dell as well, but maybe not as much as on the Acer. But again, they're pretty comparable. So let's you're probably not going to spend a lot of time in the desktop on either of these tablets. So let's get over to sort of things that you will do. So let's get over to maybe some games. Now I've got Halo Spartan Lite on the Acer. Works great on the Acer. Was going to show you a comparison with the Venue 8, but currently that game does not work properly on the Venue 8. Doesn't display properly. Now I would have left it on here, but if you remember, I talked about one of the bigger issues with the Venue 8 32 gigabyte is you really can't put a lot of things on there. And if you currently look at the amount of space that I have, you know, you're looking at approximately 4 gigabytes. So it's free space, 4.35 gigabytes right now. So installing apps, installing games can be a challenge on a device that's only 32 gigabytes when you're running Windows. So I uninstalled it. Once it starts working again, I'll put it back on. But what I do have here, I've got a couple of games that do work. Let's try this Crash Go. So again, the loading time, they're pretty close. Let's turn the volume down. All right, so let's just try this game out. See if there's any performance differences. Now, one of the big advantages with having an x86 tablet is that you can plug in all types of things. So let's try the Acer, but why don't we play this game with an Xbox controller? So what I've done is I've plugged in the remote adapter into the Acer, and I'm pairing it now with the Xbox controller, and you can see now I can play the game with the Xbox controller. So let's just check it out on the Acer first, and then we'll do the same thing on the... So, I mean, it's smart enough to know that I'm using the controller, obviously, and giving me the directions on how to play with the controller. So, there's my avatar getting ready for this race. Here we go. So, game plays pretty well, looks pretty good. So, I mean, I'm not going to spend the whole time playing it, but it looks pretty good. Let's unplug, and now plug the same controller into the Dell paired with the same Xbox controller, and like magic, this lights up right away and I can start playing the game here. Now it appears to me that the game is much faster with the Dell. It responds much quicker, it seems to me. So this may be where you start seeing the power differences, in that, in terms of how the games respond. It may be much faster on the Dell. All right, so let's why don't we go to another game.